Welcome to our webinar on the annual review of an education, health and care plan and how you can be involved. We are the Special Educational Needs and Disability Information, Advice and Support Service. We're a service for those living or working with ages 0 to 25 years with special educational needs and disabilities. We can provide factual information found in SEND law and practices as well as local knowledge and signposting. We can provide impartial advice on steps to take in the areas of education, health and social care. And we can provide confidential, individualised support to empower those who seek our assistance. You should join this session if your child or young person's education, health and care plan is due or overdue for an annual review. You have recently been advised of the decision made by the local authority following the annual review, or you think your child's or young person's plan needs changing. By the end of this session, we hope you will understand the annual review process and what the local authority should do on an annual review. Know how to get the best from the annual review, know what to do if you don't agree with the decision made following the annual review, and know where to look for further information. What is an annual review of an EHC plan? It is the statutory process of looking at the needs and provisions specified in an EHC plan and deciding whether these need to change. It is a process, not a meeting. The local authority carries out the annual review and often delegates parts of the process to the school or college. When is an annual review? The first review of the EHC plan must be held within 12 months of the EHC plan being finalised. Subsequent reviews must be held within 12 months of the previous review. Early or interim annual reviews can be requested if your child or young person is experiencing particular difficulties or the level of support of the educational placement is not meeting their SEN. At phase transfer, discussions about transition to junior school, if necessary, or secondary school need to begin at the Year 1 and Year 5 annual reviews. This is to allow parents or carers plenty of time to visit schools and make an informed preference. The Year 2 and Year 6 annual reviews should be held in the autumn term to allow time for the SEN team to amend the EHC plan and secure the next school placement before the deadline. The SEN advisor is invited and usually attends. Ongoing appeals. The LA is still required to carry out the annual review, and this could be a useful way of seeking agreement on the issues in the appeal. Year 11 and Year 14 phase transfers must be completed by the 31st of March. Year 2 and Year 6 by the 15th of February. EHC plans must be amended and the next educational placement must be confirmed. Why is an annual review important? It's a chance to find out how the child has progressed over the year and to reflect and plan ahead for the future, preparing for adulthood, phase transfers and change of placement. It's a chance for parents to be involved and the child or young person. It's a legal process bringing the right of appeal. Many tribunals look back at the past 1 or 2 annual review reports, so it's an important record. The local authority's legal duties. Section 44 of the Children and Families Act 2014, which is statute law, says the LA must review an EHCP that it maintains. The annual review process, including the notification of the local authority's decision, must take place within 12 months of the issue of the final plan or the completion of the previous annual review. Paragraph 9.168 of the SEND Code of Practice 2015, statutory guidance, says reviews must be undertaken in partnership with the child and their parent or the young person and must take account of their views, wishes and feelings, including their right to request a personal budget. Paragraph 21 of the SEM Regulations 2014, which are statutory provisions, say as part of a review of a child or young person's EHC plan, the local authority must ensure that a meeting to review that EHC plan is held, and in the case of a child or young person attending a school referred to in paragraph 12, can require the head teacher or principal of the school to arrange and hold that meeting. What should be considered in an annual review can be found in the SEND Code of Practice 2015, paragraphs 9.166 to 7. The main purpose of the annual review is to review the child's progress towards achieving the outcomes specified in their EHC plan. The annual review should consider the continuing appropriateness of the EHCP in light of progress over the previous year, effectiveness of provisions, changed circumstances, whether change to the following are required: outcomes, enhanced provision, education establishment, discontinuing the plan. The review should also set new interim targets for the coming year. Here you can see the annual review process timeline. At least 2 weeks before the start of the term, the local authority alerts the school or services that an annual review is due. School invites parents and all professionals involved with the child or young person to review meeting and ask them for updated information. There is no legal duty for any party to attend. At least 2 weeks before the meeting, school circulates information gathered to all invitees. And there's the review meeting itself. Within 2 weeks of the review meeting, school sends an annual review report and recommendations to the local authority and attendees. Within 4 weeks of the meeting, the LA reviews the EHC plan and sends decisions to parents. Advice and information. Information must be gathered about the EHC plan and then circulated 2 weeks before the meeting. The person arranging the review meeting must obtain advice and information about the child or young person from the child's parent or the young person, the provider of the early years education, head teacher or principal of the school, post-16 or other institution, healthcare professionals and the social care team. They need to know: what progress has your child or young person made towards the outcomes in the plan? If progress has not been made in any areas, what needs to change? Is the educational setting still appropriate? Have there been any new assessments or observations? Have any new needs been identified? Have any of the outcomes been achieved? Notice of the meeting. How you can be prepared. Ensure that you receive all documents at least 2 weeks before the meeting and follow up where necessary. Put the meeting date in your diary, calendars, phone reminders, etc. Check who will be attending. Check the documents that are being circulated. Do they accurately reflect your child? If you have any queries with the reports or information, then ask for them to be amended before the meeting. Discuss the appropriateness of your child or young person attending all or part of the meeting with the coordinator, and if they are not able to attend, find another way to convey their views. This may be by video or a presentation. The meeting itself. An annual review meeting must take place to discuss the EHC plan. It must be held in a person-centred way, which means that the focus must be on what is important to the child or young person now and in the future, what support they need and what is working or not working in their life. This should consider the advice and information provided. This will review progress towards achieving outcomes and what changes might be needed. In Year 9 and beyond, it must consider what provision is required in preparation for adulthood and independent living. Look at chapters 8 and 9 of the SEND Code for further information. How you can be involved in the meeting. Your views are important. List everything you wish to discuss. The SEN coordinator may discuss them with you before the meeting. Bring a supporter who can check that you cover all your points and take notes for you. If something is sprung on you unexpectedly, you can cite the law and request to adjourn the meeting. Ask others at the meeting to agree with you on key points. This could be built into a reasonable request for more or right support from views being accurately recorded. You also have the right to request a personal budget during the annual review process. It gives families greater choice and control of provision in an EHCP. You can find out more about what can be included in a personal budget in paragraphs 9.110 to 9.118 of the SEND Code of Practice. The report. After the meeting, a report of what happened must be prepared and circulated to everyone, including the parent who attended or submitted information to be discussed. This must be sent within 2 weeks of the meeting. Set out recommendations such as changes to the EHC plan. Set out any differing opinions between those attending the meeting. Include copies of the advice and information. When you receive the report, check that it accurately represents what happened in the meeting, stating your views as well as other attendees' views. If you disagree with anything in the report, then you should write to the local authority without delay and within 4 weeks of the meeting. Keep a copy of the report for your records. The decision. The LA reviews the EHC plan in light of the annual review report. The LA can make one of 3 decisions. Not to change the EHC plan, to amend the EHC plan, or cease to maintain the EHC plan. The LA must notify the parent and education provider of their decision with their reasons within 4 weeks of the meeting. The decision completes the annual review process for the year. If the local authority doesn't confirm its decision in writing, this will frustrate your right of appeal. Completion of all steps in the review must take place within 12 months of the date of the EHC plan was first issued or completion of the previous annual review. This is in Section 44 of the Children and Families Act 2014. Decision 1. The EHCP continues without amendment. This means that the EHCP remains exactly the same for the next year. Your options are to agree with the decision, which means you'll continue to monitor your child's progress in light of the EHCP and keep an eye out for any changes that might be needed in the future. If you disagree with the decision, contact the SEN team to discuss your reasons. You can propose amendments and/or a different placement. If you don't come to an agreement, you can lodge an appeal with the SEND tribunal. The second option is to amend, which means that the EHCP will be changed to reflect the current needs. The local authority should start the process of amendment without delay, although there is no time limit for this. You will be sent the original EHCP plus the proposed amendments. You will then have 15 calendar days to respond or comment and request a particular school. You can request a meeting with the local authority to discuss the proposed changes if you so wish. Within 8 weeks of sending the proposed amendments, the LA must issue a final amended EHCP or let you know they've decided not to amend the plan after all. Amendments must be incorporated into the EHC plan to become statute. The right of appeal will only arise when the new EHC plan is finalised. If you're happy with the final amended plan, remember to check for specificity in the wording to ensure that you are getting what you expect and monitor your child's progress in light of the new EHCP content. If you disagree with the amendments or don't think the EHCP needs amending at all, you should lodge an appeal to the SEND tribunal. If the decision is to cease the plan, it means that the Education, Health and Care Plan will be terminated and all special provisions will end. You have 2 options. You can agree with the decision, which means you must reflect on the achievement of outcomes that were in the EHCP and continue to monitor your child's progress and focus on their preparation for adulthood. If you disagree with the decision, contact the SEN team at the local authority to discuss the reasons. If you don't come to an agreement, you can lodge an appeal with the SEND tribunal. You can also request changes to the provision in the plan. You may find these resources and model letters helpful. EHC have an EHC Plan checklist. You can use this to check whether the necessary steps are being followed in your education, health and care plan. They also have an annual review checklist, which can be used to check whether the necessary steps are being followed in your annual review. They have model letters, which include one for complaints, which is number 8, and number 4 for amendments and appeals. If you wish to make an appeal to the tribunal, you'll need a SEND 35 form. All of these can be found online. You can find out more information about the annual review process and changing plans by reading the relevant legislation in the Children and Families Act 2014, sections 44 to 47, the SEND Code of Practice 2015, paragraphs 9.153 to 9.210, and the SEM Regulations 2014, 15 to 31. Get in touch with your local SENDIASS and reading our fact sheets, viewing the EHCP website and resources, or contacting other organisations such as Contact and the Council for Disabled Children. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please do contact us. Contact details for West Berkshire, Southampton and Portsmouth are on this slide.